During the 2000s, there was a new sheriff in town. He rolled through the NFL and set a new standard on how the QB position could be played in the league. Peyton Manning's run with the Colts over this period is one of the most dominant we have ever seen, where he rewrote the record books and won an incredible 4 MVPs in 8 seasons, and I recreated this record-breaking offense for you to use in Madden 24. In this video, I'll be breaking down the key principles that make this offense so tough to stop. We're gonna have specifically designed plays to attack defenses just like the real-life Colts did. And to replicate this offense, we'll be using these formations in the LA Chargers playbook. Then this is actually all part of a bigger scheme I am creating, where I break down 4 schemes, and all the offenses we are looking at were led by star QBs that were dominating from the mid-2000s to the mid-2010s, and I'm calling it my Mount Rushmore offense. Then each 4 of them will be run out of the Chargers playbook so they can all be combined and used together as one giant scheme, and the playlist for this whole offense will be down in the description below. One of Peyton's calling cards during his time with the Colts was his incredible use of the quick rhythm pass game, which he utilized to utterly dismantle defenses. Applying pressure or forcing him into mistakes was so tough, as he consistently identified the open man, got the ball out quickly, and made opponents pay. Manning's preferred formation when he was with the Colts featured a double set comprising of 2 wideouts, a slot receiver, a tight end, and a running back. For our Madden offense, we'll employ both a shotgun look with gun doubles hip and an under center approach using single back doubles. Now, the first play we are going to break down excels at shredding zone coverage and using the quick pass game, and is the play bench HB angle in gun doubles hip. To set this up, come out with your stack to the wide side, put your tight end on a streak, and motion him across the formation. At the snap, watch the wide side flat defender. If he widens out to cover the out route, look into the middle of the field where the tight end is going to hold any hooks and use your defender inside. Now the C route is going to come up the shallow seam, and you can fire it in front of the deep blue defenders on this side for huge gains. Up the seam is the exact type of play that Manning would use to stretch zones and find openings for huge pickups when he's with the Colts. Now, if a hook or the user stays over the C route, look inside to the tight end. If there's an opening up the seam of the defense, fire it in for a big gain down the middle for a great second option. However, if the flat defender stays inside on the C route and doesn't cover the out route, now this route will get open as it breaks out, and you can throw it to the outside for a nice gain on the defense's edge. Lastly, if the user jumps over both the C route and the tight end seam and really takes that side away, your running back will be running a Texas route over the middle, and if it's open, you can drop it off to him and let him gain yards and make the user pay for leaving the middle of the field. The other aspect where Peyton excelled was using the short passing game to be able to beat the blitz and any heavy man coverage looks he seed, and he did this with his elite anticipation and his utilization of his game breakers on the outside in Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison, who we will be breaking down more later in this video. Now, the man beater we're looking at here is switch wide receiver drag, and this play is incredible at attacking all levels of the field. To set this up, come out with your stack to the wide side, then take your tight end and put him on a corner route. Now, I'm using hot route master in this offense, but you don't have to use it, and if you don't have it, just put this tight end on an out route instead. Then you want to take your back player on the wide side and put him on a slant over the middle, and lastly on this play, block your running back. Now, the first route we want to look to here is our slot receiver running the corner route. Now, we have short in elite on this player, and you're going to see it activate. When it does, we're going to get really nice separation on the outside, and you can fire this in for a really nice pickup. Now, this corner route is the exact type of route either Reggie Wayne or Harrison would run with the Colts, where they would use their elite route running to shred man coverage and pick up some really big gains versus these man defensive looks. We also have a corner route from our tight end on the short side of the field, and if things get messy or the wide side just isn't looking good, this tight end can get really nice separation as he breaks to the opposite side. We can fire this in, and if he has room, we can turn this up the field for a really big pickup. Now, if both corner routes are covered, we do have this slant going across the middle as a check down option. Ensure he clears any middle coverage before dropping it in for a really nice check down option underneath. Then our last option on this play is going to be our Z post. Now, if they have no safeties in the middle of the field, once this post breaks up the field, if we see separation, we can let it fly, and now we can turn this into a one play bomb with this route where we can make them pay if they don't keep safety help in the middle. Now, one of the most underrated parts of the Colts attack was their really powerful run game. Now, this was all centered around their star running back, Edgerrin James. He was an absolutely dynamic running back, and he actually had over 1,500 yards rushing in 4 of his 7 seasons in Indianapolis playing with Peyton, and he was a huge component of making Peyton's life easier with their dominant run game. They mostly utilized a zone run game where the offensive line moved laterally down the line of scrimmage with a series of double team blocks before working to the second level, and this could set up the whole rest of their attack. So the run we're going to be using is the HB stretch in single back doubles, and a big key here is counting the men in the box and running to the side with less players. And a lot of this time, this will be just to the side our run bases to, which is to our tight end side, where we can just cut off of him and find an opening where we can get into the open field and become very dangerous. Then if we actually have the advantage to the weak side, we can flip our run, and now we'll have our slot receiver out in front leading the way, and now we can get super explosive by flipping the numbers to our advantage, and this is just going to make running the ball out of these look so much easier. Then off the run game, Manning would use the play action pass game a ton. This would allow him to suck down defenders and open up some really big plays down the field, and with Peyton's elite anticipation and accuracy, this was a super underrated and deadly part of the Colts attack. Now, the play action play we are going to be looking at is PAY corner and single back doubles, and this will have a very similar run action as our stretch run, but now we'll have this deadly play action play that we can use to pick up some big gains down the field. Now, there's actually no setup for this play. We just want to run it stock. The only thing is come out with your tight end to the wide side of the field. And now the wide side is actually where we want to look to first, and we want to read the flat defender. And if at the snap he stays down at all on the running back that's coming out into the flat, then we can just throw this corner out to our tight end in over the flat defender's head for a huge pickup. Now, this play action concept with a vertical route is something the Colts would run all the time with Dallas Clark, and he was a great receiving vertical tight end that made some huge plays on concepts just like this. Now, a crucial aspect of this play involves drawing the user down on the run. This can really open up opportunities downfield. However, on this play, we are looking to the flat defender, and if he remains deep under the corner route, we want to pass it to the running back in the flat, and we just want to get it into our playmaker's hands in some green grass and let him make a play. Then on this play, if we see the user leave the middle of the field to run with the corner route, now this is going to open up the middle of the field for this backside dig replacing the user, and this is really going to make him pay if he leaves the middle of the field. Then on this play, after you do your play action, if you are ever getting quick pressure or if the whole defense is just playing back, we have our slot receiver on a hitch route, and we can just drop it down to him, and this is an easy completion that you can pick up. Then if you want to take this offense to the next level, you need to check out my website, Scheme Kings. Up right now is part 2 of this video where I'll give you guys 8 more plays for this Colts Manning offense that includes some great runs, ways to beat man coverage for big gains, and then a ton of ways to shred different zone defenses. Then also on the site, there's a pistol mini scheme that also goes with this offense out of the Chargers book, and there will be a ton of new videos coming up for this Mount Rushmore offense on the site as we work through the rest of this scheme. Then also on the site, you can find my 3 full schemes that are out so far for Madden 24 with my NFL spread offensive scheme, my Georgia Bulldogs match-based defense, and my wide zone offense. Then also on the site, you can get access to my playbooks, which are full written breakdowns for my schemes, and I have 9 out so far, with my newest being my wide zone offense that is 66 pages long, and you can use it to take your game to the next level. Then starting today, we have a sale on the site. Use code Rushmore at checkout for 50% off your first month, and this will be run until February 12th. If you want to check out Scheme Kings, it will be linked down in the description below. Then Peyton Manning had an incredible connection with his 2 elite playmakers in Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. These 2 were elite outside receivers who were some of the best in the entire NFL. Both were elite route runners and technicians who could separate at each level, whether that was short, quick, and underneath, or if it was the intermediate middle of the field, or even deep down the field where they could create some huge plays for the offense. Now, a play that we can use To get our elite playmakers the ball in similar ways as the Colts is dagger and tray Y flex, and this is an incredible zone beating concept. Now our primary focus is the user and the flat defender on the wide side. If the flat defender stays shallow and the user shifts towards the middle to cover the backside dig, then we're going to aim for that deep cross in along the sideline. However, if the user sticks to the crosser, we have the dig replacing them in the middle, forcing him to stay home or allowing us to fire it in for some big gains. These digs and crossers were Reggie Wayne and Harrison's specialty, relentlessly attacking these areas of the field and making the Colts offense incredibly tough to stop. Lastly, if you see the defense dropping back under the crosser and the dig post snap, check it down to your running back with the swing pass in the flat. Get the ball in their hands and let them make a play in the open field. Now, the trio of Reggie, Peyton, and Marvin simply can't be overlooked. They dominated with one of the most impressive offensive stretches we've ever witnessed. Marvin Harrison had a streak of 8 consecutive seasons with at least 1,000 yards receiving. Meanwhile, Reggie Wayne experienced his own run of 7 straight seasons with this 1,000-yard mark, all while playing alongside Peyton Manning. Now, this next play is going to allow us to put our elite players in positions to make big plays versus zone coverage, and this is really my favorite play in the entire scheme. So on this play, we want to come out with our tight end to the short side of the field. Then we want to take our receiver on the wide side and we want to put him on a streak. So now we have a corner route and a streak on this side. Then the last adjustment I like to do is I like to take my wide receiver on the tight end side and I just motion him out. And that is it. That is the whole setup. Our go-to route on this play will be our tight end wheel. This is going to be effective versus both cover 2 and cover 3 defenses. Against cover 2, the corner on the outside will jump inside and jam our switch release post, allowing this wheel to get up and in behind their corner for a huge gain that you can drop into this hole for big pickups versus these cover 2 looks. Now, cover 3 is going to work a little bit different. The flat defender is actually going to ride this wheel route, but as soon as he kind of lets that wheel route go, we're going to see a big hole open up behind that flat defender. The deep blue defender on this side is going to get run off by the deep post. Now we can just drop it into this hole for another big gain now versus cover 3. Now, if we notice the flat defender is running with the wheel route player, now we want to shift our focus to the opposite side of the field where we're going to have a corner route who will get in behind the flat defender on the wide side with the deep blue getting run off by the fade. This allows us to fire this in along the other sideline for a big gain. Another option is we can target our Z post. If we don't like the look of the wheel and we see the user staying shallow in the middle of the field, this works really well against cover 3, where the deep blue defender in the middle is pulled back by the streak on the wide side, allowing us to fire in this post as it breaks in for a really nice gain over the middle of the field. Lastly, if everyone drops back deep at the snap and gets under our deeper routes, and especially if we see the flat defender turn and run with the wheel, now we can just drop it down to our running back in the flat underneath him and let him make a play with the ball in his hands. Now, Manning's most standout trait was his incredible ability to diagnose defenses and make sure the Colts were always in the perfect play to attack anything that defensive coordinators threw his way. And his attention to detail and preparation during the week truly changed the way the QB position was played. Now, the play we're going to go over here is the play levels, and this is a perfect play call that will give us amazing options versus any coverage that our opponent throws our way. And this levels concept is actually one of the plays that Peyton was most famous for during his time with the Colts, and he ran it to perfection. To set this up, come out with your tight end to the short side, then take the back player in the stack and put him on a post route. If you don't have hot route master, you can leave him on a dig. I just like the post because it gets a bit deeper. Then take the solo receiver, motion him out, and I like to put him on a comeback. Now, the first key here is we want to look at the safety to see if it's 1 high or 2 high. Now, if it's 1 high, then it's going to be most likely cover 1 or cover 3, and we want to check the tight end seam right away. And this route is going to get vertical up the seam, but also drift away from that single high safety. And once he clears in behind the linebacker, you can just fire this down the seam for a big gain. Now, Peyton would absolutely brutalize the seam if you gave it to him, and this is one of the easiest reads for Peyton. So if they give it to you, take it every time, just like Manning. Then against 2 high, this route becomes an option route, and versus cover 2, now the tight end will actually run a post over the middle. Now, if the mid-read player doesn't get under this route, and if the user bites down on stuff underneath, then we can drive this ball to the option route over the middle. Now, if the tight end route is taken away, we want to look to the levels play over the middle with the post and the shallow cross, and we want to high-low this defender defender. And if the linebackers are staying back, then throw this shallow underneath and let them make a play in the open field. Then if they bite down on the shallow in cut, then this deep post will be the route we work over the middle, and this can become a really explosive pickup for us. Now in this offense, we want to play like Peyton. So I want to ensure you can get to the line and be able to read out a defense and adjust on the fly so you can be confident that you can pick up yards versus any coverage you face. Now the formation we're going to be running this out of is doubles hip, and you want to set your audibles up this way, and we're going to be focusing on these 3 plays. So you can come out in any play in doubles hip, and the first place we want to look to is the safety. Now if it's single high, we want to check to our levels play. Now if it's single high, that's really going to give us 2 main options. It's either going to be cover 3 or cover 1. Now post snap, if we look out, we see them dropping out into zone and it is cover 3 with a single high safety, then we want to look to the seam on this levels play, and once this player clears in behind the linebackers, you can drive this in for a big pickup. Now if you drop back and it's single high, but they're running man coverage where their guys are actually turning and running with their players, now we want to look to the middle of the field to our post and our shallow cross, and now we can pick whichever one has more separation and fire it in. Next, if we get to the line and we see 2 high safeties, now I want to check to the play switch wide receiver drag. Now post snap, if we see cover 2, so that's going to be 2 high safeties, but now the corners are going to roll up and play the flats, then we want to look to this wheel route. He's going to get in behind the flat defender. The deep safety is going to stay back, and now we can drop this into that hole along the sideline for a big gain. But now once we get to the line, if we see 2 high safeties, but then we snap the ball and we actually see cover 4. So now instead of those corners playing the flats, they are actually dropping out into a deep zone, and they're going to have linebackers or underneath players dropping to the flats. If we see this, now we want to look to the corner route versus cover 4, and we're going to see our streak is going to pull back both deep blue defenders, and our corner route will get wide open along the sideline, and we can drop this in for a big pickup. Now the last one, guys, is if you get to the line and you see both safeties back, but you're just really unsure what coverage they're in, or they've been kind of confusing you on defense, you can always check to inside zone and run the ball. Now we should have a distinct numbers advantage with both safeties back, and you can gain consistent yards with this inside zone run. Now this Colts offense is going to make you so tough to stop, and remember there is a part 2 up right now on Scheme Kings that you guys can check out. But then if you want a full breakdown of the idea behind this Mount Rushmore offense and a deep dive into the personnel we will be using for this scheme, then you need to check out the intro video for this whole offense right here.